everybody spending time painting these days, or what are you all up to? A little bit?
Doing some.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a lot of sketching and doodling. Today I spent the whole day outside raking leaves.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, that's necessary too. So.
Get this to work.
I wonder if we're going to have another major shutdown in Toronto coming up.
Yes, they just announced it on the radio, Steve.
Oh, did they? What did they announce?
Yeah, businesses now shut down.
Oh, man.
Restaurants, gathering places.
Within Toronto?
Mm-hmm. In Toronto.
But not within York County, York region?
I haven't heard anything.
I did not hear York region.
I'm just across the street from Toronto.
Well, the north side of Steeles is York.
Yeah.
And the south side of Steeles is Toronto. Yeah.
It's comfortable.
I didn't know that, Steve.
How long is this latest lockdown for? Anybody catch it?
To the end of the month.
Has it affected the York U, Deanna? Like, I guess you're not having it. Sorry?
Yeah, for sure. I think that most studio classes are sort of closed down right now, or at least like we have to operate at home. I know that for my class I'm in, it's all online right now entirely. Yeah. I'm not sure how the winter will go, but I assume it'll be kind of more of the same.
Yeah. So what do? You do your art at home, or how does that work?
Yeah, right now I am. I kind of cleared space in my bedroom, so I've been working in there a bit. Yeah. So it's kind of a little cramped, but like making the most of it.
What can you do?
Artists have the best advantage during this sort of thing, because the people who aren't artists, I mean, they're going stir crazy. What are they going to do?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's like, oh, I guess I'll stay home and paint something.
Yeah, it's something to do for sure.
Somebody I know has been raking leaves.
Well,
hey, I mowed the lawn. In November, I mowed the lawn.
Oh, how come you could see the lawn?
And my lilac bushes have buds on them.
Wow, they're confused.
Very confused plants.
Yes.
My rose bush still is blooming. I have tons of buds, but then it usually dies. But I have I forget, some sort of hanging plant out in the backyard, and it's flowered. And it's actually an indoor plant, but I left it outside all summer. I still haven't taken it in, and it's got tons of flowers on it.
Very confused plants.
Oh, gosh.
Well, we're up to 23 participants.
Hi, Margie.
Oh, I forgot.
Who said that?
Janet.
Oh, hi, Janet. Nice to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm coping just fine. I even went out for a nice walk today in the sunshine.
Wow, okay.
Yesterday I had my snow tires put on.
Yes, I have my snow tires on too.
Hi, Deanna.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Hi, Deanna.
Hey, Jay. Nice to see a friendly face.
Oh, friendly.
I'm excited.
That's true. That's true. I haven't seen EJ for a long time.
Long time no Zoom.
Oh. going to start? How many people do we have?
25 now.
Oh, it looks like we're getting more people.
Yes, it's just 7 now, so let's just give them a few more minutes.
Yes, I think so.
A lot of people sign on and ask.
Well, hello.
Oh, yeah, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Diane, you have a lot of stuff on your wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
This is currently a storage area as well as a studio.
Aren't they all?
Yeah. Oh, I have a huge wall hanging on that wall. It's an outside wall, and it's probably about 4 feet wide and 6 feet long. I made it back in the 70s. It's all rug hook, and it's beautiful. I've kept it. I've got another one that I did back in the 70s. It's hanging up in another room.
All right, we got 26.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is Joe
Did you
on?
guys, I'm sorry, did you guys get my email today regarding Lorraine?
Yeah,
I did, yes.
What was it about? What was it about, Nairo?
It was a thank you card.
I sent a copy of the card.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's
don't know.
really
I
nice.
didn't get that. I didn't get it.
What do
I
you
don't
mean
think
you
I'm
didn't
on your
get it?
list. Huh?
You are in my list and you are there.
Okay, boss, but I didn't see it.
Well, could you please check?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We need to invent a ritual. We should all start singing rounds or something.
Okay, you start.
Okay, so how to get my camera going?
Hey, Dad.
My daughter.
Oh.
My kid. Oh, I know what's going on here. Can she see me? I don't. Well, why is there no video?
Integrated camera.
It said join with video, and I said yes. Why is it not joining with video?
You don't need to use your video.
Trying to. Can you hear me?
You
Deanna?
don't have to, though. It's fine if you don't.
Okay, it's a brand new computer. I'm at my place of employment. They just bought a brand new computer, and I joined with video, but the camera doesn't seem to want to turn on.
Video settings.
You go to the bottom left-hand corner. You'll see a little thing that says Stop Video. Click on the arrow beside it.
Okay, sorry, you're way ahead of me. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Rotate 90 degrees. What? Really? Okay.
Oh, okay, no, that's wrong.
No, that's
Oh,
all right.
something's happening.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the video setting. What's going? Video
Yeah,
mic.
go to video settings.
Yeah. Keep talking. I'm listening.
And well, it should.
Yeah, there's nothing here. I mean, unless I go into advanced settings, it doesn't seem to want to turn on. What's going on here? Just checking all the settings that came with this computer, and nothing here that suggests it shouldn't work. But anyways, hello everybody. My name is Monty Gisborne.
Is that checked?
Which one? Sir, say again.
Select a camera. Is that checked?
I don't. You see, I have my my computer literate friend here helping me, and we're both. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead. What do you think? We'll just toggle it on and off and see if that.
Yeah. And sometimes all you can do is reboot.
Yeah.
Unless we rejoin this meeting.
You know, we're going to try to rejoin the meeting and see if maybe that. Yeah.
And it has a two-step. One is, it says join with video and join with audio.
Yeah, no, I did. I clicked video, join with video and join with audio, but audio obviously working, but video not. So,
We'll leave it for now.
okay,
We'll be right back.
I'll fiddle with it a bit more, but I don't want to stop the meeting.
Okay, so we got 28 people, and I believe it is 7:05. So,
All right. So I can take over if that's good.
all right, I will spotlight you.
Cool. All right.
There you go. Anybody should be in speaker view.
Do you think that you could, I want to share my screen. Do you think you could enable me to do that?
Oh, I always forget that.
No problem.
You have to allow it.
Okay, does everybody know who Deanna is?
Yes, the student.
That's true. Now, do you want to know any more? I can give you a couple of lines of background if you like.
And let Margie give an introduction.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make it short and sweet. For those of you who are not familiar with Willowdale Group of Artists, it started way back just after World War II, when a man called Asbury was an artist in Willowdale. And at that time, Willowdale was not connected to Toronto. It was a travel up what used to be, what Yonge Street was before it became an official place to go. So he was an artist and worked alone. As he met more artists who came up to his area, he invited them to join him in his studio, and that was the beginning of Willowdale Group of Artists. That was just after World War II. I joined the club in about 2008, and at one of my first meetings, I ran into two gentlemen in the hallway who said to me, "Oh, you're a new member and you haven't done anything for the club. Will you join us in setting up a scholarship for students? We have some cash lined up for it. We're all ready to go. Will you do some of the work?" And that's how come I got this job, and I'm still doing it. That was at least more than 10 years ago, and we have put some 10 people through this kind of scholarship, and Deanna is 2020, the year 2020's scholarship winner. So that's how we got to this point together. And now, Deanna, show us what you've done, who you are, and all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you. I'll start sharing my screen now. Here.
There she is.
Okay, so thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Deanna Gisborne, and I'm a painter.
Wasn't she?
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to mute everybody, right? So, Deanna, you'll have to unmute yourself in a second.
Okay, is this good?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Deanna, and I'm a painter. So to begin, I'm an artist from Orillia, Ontario, and I currently live in Toronto, Ontario. I work currently as an active screener at Women's College Hospital, and I have a relatively long history of community service positions stemming mostly from my time at York. Some of my most influential roles have been artist outreach and contributing writer for the My Mental Health Report, an online magazine, and mentor coordinator for the Undergraduate Psychology Student Association, and for the same association. Numerous life drawing workshops, as program drawing representative for the Visual Arts Student Association at York. This is a photo from when I was a peer tutor with the Student Association. a bit about my evolution. It starts in high school. Before beginning university, I'd attended Twin Lakes High School, which is a public school in Orillia, Ontario. And I attended weekly life drawing sessions and took part in the Youth Arts Council at the local museum, which is the Orillia Museum of Art and History. So I really wanted to connect with the community in Orillia for art. This is when I was about 17 at one of the life drawing sessions. And this is another drawing from one of those sessions, which you can even see a lot of improvement just between those two. And this is one of the ones that which helped get me into York. So in high school, I worked with a mixture of mediums as our high school classes were focused on experimenting with new materials and techniques. I was really interested in the figurative, often focusing on a single person, which persists to this day. And I received a lot of support from my art teachers due to my enthusiasm and participation primarily, which led to yearly awards and even an art scholarship when I graduated from the museum that I mentioned earlier. This is an image from a Comtech class I was in, photography, and you can already see I was working with just one figure and putting her in a background and trying to just situate her in an environment. This is another from the same time. It's a self-portrait, and I'm really just focusing on the emotion in this photo. And this is from the final exhibition that we had when I was in grade 12. And you can actually see some of my art in the background. It's a couple photographs and a few life drawings. So that's pretty much summing up my high school time. And then when I started at York, the positive feedback that I got throughout high school made my decision to apply to do an undergraduate degree in visual art a clear path, as I also had been a top student in terms of grades, and so it was a very viable option for me. York as an institution felt right when I visited it. The community seemed open and welcoming, and I loved the diversity that it had when I visited. And in my first few undergraduate years, I was just finding my footing. I made some friends with fellow artists, had my first exhibition in first year, and went through various life changes. I also volunteered as a gallery monitor at the Art Gallery of York University for the first 2 years. This is a photo from that first exhibition that I had, which was a group show with EJ and Ma pictured here. In the background, you can also see one of Ma's paintings, which is very beautiful. And the whole thing was set in Eleanor Winter's gallery, which is also at York. So my first to third years, I specialized in drawing, and I created numerous works in this medium. I started incorporating collage into my works, and eventually I took my first painting course. My works revolved around representing my psyche and emotions in mentally constructed spaces and forms. I won an honorarium award in art history during these years, as well as the Carl Dare Memorial Scholarship for recognition of studio performance. This is a drawing that I did in my second year at York in a life drawing class. And you can already see here, I was really interested in the figure and the emotions she was experiencing. And I decided to take all of the background out, except for the things that I felt were most important to her, which were a bunch of flowers and the chair. This is from the same time period. It's once again really interested in realism. But then also I began playing with collage a bit, using cut paper and also experimenting with colors in strange ways. This is from the same time period. It's really the whole thing is a collage. It's a bunch of construction paper as well as some artist board that I cut up and into shapes and put together, glued together to create this, which is really just a total fantastical kind of scene. This is from another drawing course, the same one. It is where I was really starting to take images from different sources and try to create a composition within that. And here is the final product of that exploration, which is all done in watercolor and pencil. This is from my first painting course I took at York, which was in third year. In this time, I was really just trying to get a handle on the medium because I wasn't experienced in it. And this is from near the end of my third year, and it's a big graphite drawing where I took pictures of myself and then constructed a collage with them in Photoshop to create this kind of emotional vortex sort of thing. And it's also pretty large. Fourth year. So in my fourth year, I became more specialized in painting. I found common themes throughout my work, which was often emphasized in my classes at the time, and began incorporating digital collage into my preparatory stage. This ended up paying off, and I won an honorarium award for my work in painting in my fourth year. This is a photo from the award night. You can also see EJ and Ma again, and they're the ones that I did that group show with. And in the background, you can also see the painting that I did that got me that award. It's from Matthew Carper's class. In the beginning of my fifth year, I had a duo show with my friend EJ, who you probably met now, who I'd met at the beginning of our university education, and through our art, though our art developed on our own paths, it intersected in various ways, such as the use of the human form and an interest in the senses, and we really wanted the show to just kind of show the way that our practices intertwined. This is the poster for our show. It was called The State of Not Knowing. And we both sort of made the text image and manipulated the text to create this and figured out the layout. And then EJ screen printed all of the posters, which was added a little flair to our exhibition. That was really nice. This is from the opening night, or rather closing night. And you can see some of our work on the walls. And it was overall just a big success with lots of wonderful people there. This is the whole layout of the show. You can see that we alternated our work back and forth. So that created kind of a balanced space. And yeah, overall, I think that the show was really successful. So also in fifth year, I continued developing a body of work with a common theme and style while I was in the thesis studio class with Janet Jones. I worked very hard, and with the support of a lot of people, I created a lot of pieces that I'm proud of. And I ended up winning the Willowdale Award at the end of the year, granted by the Willowdale Group of Artists, which is the group that's hosting this tonight. This is a picture from the awards ceremony. It's with a representative from the Willowdale Group and also Janet Jones. And in this one, you can see it's from the same night. It gives you a little reference of scale with the pieces that I make. They're pretty much all life size. And you can also see this was my studio space for the year. It was pretty much this wall. So I had someone ask, I posted if anyone had any specific questions for me over social media. So this is one of them. It says, art university education, is it worth it? So I decided it depends on you. I think that in my experience, attending post-secondary for visual art could be a good option for a few reasons. It gives you a structured time that you can make art, which I don't think you really get the same way if you go straight into the workforce or something like that. And it gives you the opportunity to interact with fascinating and knowledgeable peers and teachers. The courses that you do while you're in your degree often broaden your perspective and fuel your artistic practice. And there are also a variety of opportunities to exhibit work that you wouldn't get if you weren't in the institution. How did I learn to paint? I was also asked this. My answer is really just by doing it. I think that I kind of had a bit of a head start when I was learning because I had prior experience with life drawing, and so I already knew how to render realistic images with shadow and light. And adding color was really the biggest change, and learning to mix them so that they matched the references I was using. This took a while to learn. And I also started off using a really small brush because I was sort of stuck in my method of drawing. And then eventually I abandoned this practice and started using larger brushes and thicker strokes, which gave it a more painterly feel and was overall more satisfying. This is an example of that really small brushstroke use that I was having. This is from third year, that first painting course I did. And so it was just very meticulous. It's very time consuming. I still think it's kind of beautiful, but I definitely prefer my method now. This is from fourth year, so it's the year later. And you can see I started using just like big expanses of certain colors, and I think it really created more of like a three-dimensional looking form that I thought was really appealing. Art and psychology. So I've nearly completed my Bachelor of Fine Art at York, double majoring in visual art and psychology, so definitely the two interact for me. Throughout my undergrad degree, I've always tried to connect with the communities of both disciplines, and through that, I've experienced a lot of growth and support on both sides. This has also been a time where I've consolidated both interests and found ways that they intersect. So my interest in the human experience is my primary inspiration for art. Since I only really have access to my own, that's what I end up painting. And I've had to learn to externalize it into artwork, and doing that necessitated developing a unique visual language. I explore the solitary experience, the way that individuals live in their own partially fabricated and uniquely perceived realities. This is also from third year. It's made of mylar paper layered on top of each other. So in this, you can really see I'm really focusing on the individual, and she's even got her eyes closed. It's very much about her inner sensations and thoughts and feelings, and the faded parts I'm trying to find imagery that can represent that mental state. So a bit about my process. I'm most inspired by the various situations that we may face in our day-to-day lives, which can influence us in ways that we're more or less aware of. In starting my pieces, I reflect deeply on issues. I reflect deeply on issues I'm grappling with and brainstorm ways that these issues can be represented by visual elements. So for example, when I was creating the heroine, which you'll see later, I decided that I wanted to represent my feelings of trying to balance complicated responsibilities that I was taking on in work, school, and relationships, and also to represent a connection with nature that I was feeling distant from at the time. So that was the idea that I wanted to tackle. And then to do that, I decided to use the phrase keeping your head above water as my jumping off point, and made an image of a woman controlling a stream of water with fish thrashing about to symbolize the many thoughts that she was dealing with. And I used an image of the moon to represent the connection to nature that I was missing. This is the preparatory drawing that I made for this piece. You can see I was trying to find ways to incorporate all the elements that I thought of and how to put them into a composition. So after I have my idea, I collect reference images, including a photo that I take myself of the model, and I combine them in Photoshop to create a digital collage. This collage isn't meant to look exactly like the final product will look, but it's more of a starting point and I can go from there. So I call the resulting images psychological landscapes, and this is essentially the same as what I was doing in my early university career, but with the new themes, which I will discuss shortly. This is the Photoshop collage for the heroine that I mentioned. And you can see that I've got various reference images kind of put together in a little bit of a haphazard way. And they're not all included either. I would often even just flip between tabs on my computer and pull different reference images from there. So it's really just a starting off point. While at York, my workstation consisted of a studio space I was allotted for various classes, which I made a lot of use of. So depending on the year and the classes I was taking, I'd be in a different place. And I'd set up 2 tables, one on either side of me to hold my laptop, paint, an old shirt, water, fluid retarder, palette, and probably a tea. And I find that the right atmosphere is essential when creating, so I usually put on music or listen to a podcast. The right atmosphere will look different for everyone. I really like having a bit of content to sort of make the long hours feel a bit more like my brain's doing something. I don't know how to explain that. So this is from last year. It's in that studio space I showed earlier, and you can just kind of see how I had things set up. I liked having my work kind of spread out so I could see it all together and things like that. Main themes. So spirituality is a big theme I work with. In my pieces, there's a strong sense of it, and I make a lot of analogies where I use traditional symbolism for certain natural elements. For example, a snake could mean corrupting knowledge and things like that. I also make use of the imagery of some intuitive spiritualities, such as images drawn from tarot cards. And overall, a connection with nature is very much supported in my work, and nature is often conveyed as being very powerful and generative. I also work with technology and urban life a lot. Technology in my work often doesn't reveal itself in its true form. Sometimes it takes the form of nature being corrupted or shown in unsettling ways. And other times I'm more explicit in how I'm showing it. showing it along with the natural parallel that it should be balanced with. And finally, the senses is the other main theme I have, where they often take center stage in my work. They're how we experience the world, and they're really fundamental to our existence. So it only makes sense that I would use that in my work where I'm exploring personal experiences. And senses can be more or less reliable. Some are given primacy over others in our society, such as touch, which is typically devalued, and sight is given primacy. And I like to make these divisions clear in my work and support the alternative emphasis on touch and connecting with the world. I was also asked about how I get a lifelike quality for my work. So I think this is just a lot about just having a good understanding of the human form, which allows you to render it really precisely and gives it a very lifelike quality. And also the fact that I juxtapose these very detailed forms with more chaotic or surreal elements, I think the contrast can make it seem a bit more realistic in comparison and lifelike. And also there's a lot of movement in my work, which enhances the lifelike quality because I contour to the planes of the subject with my brush strokes. And I also use compositions that draw the eye around instead of keeping it in one place. It gives it a lot of energy. So for my recent work, these are all from the past 2 or so years. This is Hive Mind, and it's acrylic on wood panel. It's 10 by 10 inches from 2019. It's about the bubbles that many of us end up stuck in, especially within the online sphere. We can easily end up hearing our own viewpoints repeated back to us seemingly infinitely, as algorithms on social media and other online sources tailor the content we see based on our established preferences. We continue unconsciously or consciously engaging in the system because it makes us feel good, and exposing ourselves to alternative perspectives challenges us. This is the heroine, the one I mentioned earlier. It's acrylic on canvas, 36 by 48 inches from 2019. And it's, as I described earlier, about trying to keep one's head while chaos is around you. In my case, the water and fish represent a treacherous circumstance, and the woman finds a sense of control in the thick of that circumstance. There's a feminine, powerful way about this piece that denotes female energy and strength. This is the Hermit. It's acrylic on wood panel, 84 by 36 inches from 2019. It's about the individual's journey to knowledge. Traditionally, the tarot card, the Hermit, depicts a lone wanderer who endures long periods of solitude to find inner wisdom. In this piece, I painted the Hermit dropping his guiding light, which shines onto him with the knowledge of the inner senses. In the areas of him where the light doesn't reach, we now see circuits representing the unbroken connectedness that many of us now experience in the digital age, which takes us from the solitude needed to develop this inner wisdom. This is Diaspora, acrylic on canvas, 36 by 48 inches. It's from 2019. Diaspora is a group of people who are scattered, having moved from their geographic origin. Historically, this word refers to the involuntary mass dispersion of a population from their homeland. I created this piece after interviewing Estelle, who's a sculptor who went to York. In this piece, I aimed to layer many facets of her identity, central to which was her move from Iran to Canada. She spoke of how deeply this move affected her, as well as her connection to nature, her family back home, and the different sides of her identity. She also told me about an Eastern art craft group that she ran. In this piece, you can see mushrooms dispersing from her back as she reflects on her time in Iran. Inside the mushrooms are art crafts, as she brings her cultural roots forward into her new surroundings. This one is slipping through my fingers. It's acrylic on wood panel, 48 by 48 inches, and from 2020. It's about a world thrown off kilter, which I find in my experience of the city. On the left side of the piece, there are cars driving at night and a building still lit up. As we move to the top right of the piece and then to the bottom right, the man-made lights transition into fireflies, at first lit up and then burnt out. On top of this, the life cycle is shown in blooming and then dying flowers in a clock formation. The figure shields her sight from the natural dying side of the image and peeks at the man-made living side. In this piece, I meant to show the endless hum of the city, the thrown-off circadian rhythm brought about by unnatural work hours, and the need to hustle relentlessly, both for practical reasons and to stave off the realization of more important matters than acknowledgement of death would give us the courage to face and honor. This is Birds of Paradise, acrylic on wood panel 48 by 36 inches. It's from 2019, and it depicts a woman wearing a shirt that says Sublime on it, mimicking the powerhouse fashion brand Supreme. Birds of Paradise surround her head, circling as if she's prey, and perched on her body. This piece shows the shallow desire for flashy material things that will show status to others, blinding us to more meaningful matters. There's a long history of the hunting of birds of paradise, which are known for their ornamental feathers. So advocacy and inclusion. In my emphasis on individual experience as well as common human experience, I don't shy away from specific groups of people as subjects. In the future, I hope to depict more experiences outside my own, like the Asal portrait. I really like doing interviews. And I see my art as an opportunity to foster kinship with others. In the future, I plan to use my art as a vehicle to amplify the voices of marginalized populations and how they interact with the urban setting and current views. I also plan to complete a Master's of Fine Art and become a professor of visual art potentially. I'd like to continue expanding my worldview through connecting with others and learning about their experiences, and currently I'm primarily doing that with my healthcare job, where I meet a wide variety of people daily. I'll always promote creativity and vulnerability in other people. In terms of current projects, so things I've been working on in the past couple months, this is the main one. It's about half finished, and it depicts a younger version of myself standing in front of a lake with death head hawk moths being drawn towards me. This piece is a bit of a response to slipping through my fingers, which I showed earlier, as a deeper acceptance of impermanence and the eventual dissolution of time as shown through the various phases of the moon appearing in the sky all at once. It's also a pretty good middle stage representation of my work. It's kind of interesting to see. Yeah, it's called Embrace. This is the other one that I want to work on soon. It's not painted yet, but I do have it drawn on a wood panel. It's one that I had to stop working on when COVID started because I just don't have the space here. But this will be my largest piece yet, and it depicts a woman in a classic pose associated with hysteria. Coming out of the woman is the phallic imagery of city buildings along with large vines. Hysteria classically is known as emotional excess, manifesting as physical symptoms, which have historically been regarded as illegitimate, and women presenting with them have been created in terrible sexist ways. In this case, the woman represents the earth, and she's experiencing the physical damage of human technology and proliferation. This causes mental anguish, which externalizes as the giant vines, which struggle to overtake the buildings. These concerns, of course, are not taken seriously by those in power, and the whole piece is very explosive. This is the Photoshop rendering of it. I also am going to be doing an illustration series for a YA sci-fi novel over the coming years, so it's kind of a long-term project, and there'll be more details eventually. Someone asked how self-isolating and the general COVID situation has been affecting my motivation. So now that I paint at home due to these restrictions, I've cleared a space in my room, and I work to make the lighting as close to possible as natural light as I could. It's still not perfect, but it works. And I sincerely miss creating with others around, though. I really like being in a bit of a competitive environment and also supportive with other people that I can bounce ideas off of and also have their own projects going on that they're passionate about. It gives me a lot of energy, and COVID-19 has definitely taken a major toll on my motivation to create, partly due to the relative isolation and also partly due to my job, which can be pretty mentally, emotionally, and physically draining most days. And everything that impacts regular aspects of my life, of course, impacts my creative life too, just kind of how it works. And it's important to remind yourself that energy to create will come back eventually, and that prioritizing other things is okay sometimes. I was also asked about my inspiration lately. I tend to take inspiration from all kinds of mediums, really not limited to the visual arts at all. This summer and fall, I found reading to be a really good source of creative energy and inspiration. I've loved fiction such as The Last Unicorn, which has a lot of compelling characters, and also Neuromancer, which explores themes that I like to explore as well, such as humanity and technology, identity, and fragmentation. Music is always a big source of inspiration too. I really look to the work of Sufjan Stevens a lot for his existential themes that he includes. And over these past months, it's really been a period of toiling on existing projects, and I've been much less focused on finding new sources of inspiration and more on just enjoying media while I'm working on things. if you want to get in touch with me, the place that I'm most active on is my Instagram page, which is @dgiz. And you can also email me at dgiz@hotmail.com. I check that multiple times daily. So you can see a picture of my Instagram handle right there. And yeah, feel free to get in touch whenever. Thank you for listening, and I'll take any questions if someone has one.
Can you tell us a tiny bit about your healthcare work?
Yeah, so I started doing that at a few months ago, probably 4 months ago or so. And I'm an active screener. So when people come to the hospital, I work at Women's College Hospital. We're an ambulatory facility, so we don't have any emergency or anything, but we have clinics that are open for regular appointments. And I'll be the person that's screening them when they get in the door for COVID symptoms and making sure that they all have a new mask on, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is all your work in acrylic pretty much? Well, you did some watercolor too, I think, right?
But yeah, that was in mostly my third year or so, probably when I was 20, 21. But yeah, since then, when I moved away from drawing, I basically have been doing all acrylic. I've done a little bit of oil painting in the past, but it hasn't really stuck with me yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you weren't working from home, would you be going like even bigger? It's like, what is the dream to do like a house-size painting? Like, I'm wondering where you're at.
I mean, a lot of the concern for me would be, I guess, like pragmatic concerns of just being able to get the materials to do that kind of thing and have a place to work on it. If that wasn't a concern, sounds fun. I would love to do a mural at some point. But right now, I think for most of my projects, I'm pretty happy working with the size I've been doing. I think it's good for the life-size portraits that I do generally.
Hey, Deanna, how do you get the image onto the canvas when you work? Do you draw freehand?
Yeah, I freehand draw it. I just look at the reference image I have and then, map it out a little bit. It's okay if it's not perfect the first time. I'll just kind of go back in with the paint and fix things.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to ask you, did you take color theory at York University?
Like understanding color or something like that?
Yeah, the concept of color mixing, and did they actually teach that?
No, not personally. I'm sure that other people have, but I didn't take a course like that. I just kind of learned by doing it and seeing what worked.
And in what media did you learn it? Was it in watercolor or acrylic?
Yeah, it was in acrylic, I'd say. Yeah, acrylic. That's where I've done the bulk of my painting.
So you found it easier to learn color theory, I guess, in acrylic painting.
Yeah, I didn't give watercolor much of a fair try though, I guess, in terms of doing it for long periods of time. Okay. Acrylic's really been the thing I gravitated towards.
So are you currently in Aurelia, or are you living in Toronto at York University?
I'm in Toronto right now. I'm closer to the downtown area though. I'm not in North York right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I do hope to visit Aurelia soon.
Can you tell us why you chose York as opposed to OCAD, for example? Or you must have looked at OCAD, I assume, at one point, or?
Yeah, I actually, when I was looking at schools, I had an interview with OCAD, but I decided not to do it pretty much, I think, the day of. I don't really remember why that was the case, but when I went to visit York, it kind of clicked with me. Okay. I don't really know how to describe that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Seemed very welcoming.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Where would you want to do your master's? You mentioned you wanted to do an MFA?
Yeah, I'm hoping to apply to that in January or so, whenever it seems like the COVID situation is going to clear up, and yeah, that's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm just trying to get a really good body of work going so that I have a good shot at that.
In order
Will
to
you
be,
do your fine arts masters at York University, or would you consider Guelph University?
I wasn't really considering Guelph. I heard that the best MFA programs are, or at least to really get yourself situated in a place that you're going to be able to stay in the art scene, would be either Toronto or BC, or what was the other one? Oh, or Concordia in Montreal. Yeah, so I was mostly considering doing either York again or possibly in Montreal.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear anything really good about Guelph though? I'm kind of interested.
Oh, well, my neighbor next door, their daughter, she went to OCAD and graduated, and then she did her fine art or her master's degree in Guelph University. And she graduated last year from that.
Okay. Did she really enjoy it?
I think so. She, I'm very close with her because she's my daughter's best friend. And so I've seen a lot of her work, and she is I forget the terminology. What kind of an artist she is. Can't remember. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you for letting me know.
Some old age, can't remember. But it was pretty interesting. Out that way, there's lavender farms and stuff like that. So they went to lavender farms to sort of experience, I guess, nature and whatever. And I just can't remember what kind of an artist she is. I mean, but she comes here and she and I will paint together. So it's sort of neat. I've got my daughter and her 28-year-old best friend. The two of us hang out together and paint. So
really sweet.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Aw. Are you still doing that now?
Well, she is living downtown right now, and I keep giving her care packages of art supplies.
Oh.
Yeah, and nagging her to keep on painting.
That's an important job.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
I just wonder what other questions I can ask. I had other things, but I forget as you went along.
Mm-hmm.
But the color theory was one question I was very interested in, wondering if they actually teach that at York University.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a specific class for it, but I know that there's Understanding Color, which I think is a science course, but it probably helps you in it.
Yeah.
Are you showing in any commercial galleries, or are you planning to, or how do you feel about that?
I'm not really quite sure where I sit with that yet. I think that I'll need a bit of time to figure it out, but eventually I probably wouldn't be opposed to it. It sounds like a good way to kind of make a living as an artist. Yeah.
Are you still interested in going down the route of art therapy?
I definitely considered that for a long time, and it's an option. Like it's not my biggest thing that I'd like to do at this point, I don't think, because teaching really seems like a thing that I'd be very interested in and probably good at. But it's definitely something that it's in the back of my mind if I ever feel like pursuing that.
Do you have any interest in clinical psychology?
That was the stream that I mostly went down with in psych. So yeah, I definitely found it really, really rich and rewarding to look into that. I think that, like what I was saying with art therapy, it's kind of a very similar thing. That would be the route I would take if I was to do clinical psychology. But I definitely really appreciate it as a practice, and I love to learn more about it.
Yeah, and it complements quite well with your artistic interests, and is a lot of foundation about that. I'm telling you this, but from experience.
Yeah. Do you make work that's similar?
I'm dealing with that, but I came to art from practicing in psychology, in clinical psychology. So I can see the way to integrate them. They're not one or the other. It's the two of them who can give you a solid ground and a cosmovision that can be very enriching.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find the same thing. It's really hard to separate them in my mind. They're just kind of the same thing to me. Yeah.
What age
Congratulations.
were you doing art therapy? Like, what type of people? Were they men, women, young people, old people?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
When you were doing art therapy, who were the people that you were working with?
Oh, okay. I haven't done art therapy. I've just done classes that were about clinical psychology. And I was considering for quite a while to go into art therapy in post-secondary, but I haven't actually worked with clients.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that you maybe had done that as well.
Yeah, no, not at this point.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Can you think of any artists who have influenced you over the years?
Yeah. I think that a lot of the people that I've gone to school with are honestly the most influential in terms of my art. For instance, as you saw, EJ and our practices are quite similar in certain ways as we've developed together, and lots of other people. Even on the call, John is here, and I found that working in the studio with him really left an impression on me. And we have very similar themes in our work, and just in general, a lot of those. There's definitely classical artists I like too. For a long time, I looked at Lucian Freud because that seemed like a very good way to combine the psychology and art thing. And he really focused on showing emotion in the subjects and their psychological, what they were dealing with. So I tried to emulate what he does a lot, but mostly the people I've actually been around.
Deanna, how about Frida Kahlo? Do you see a relationship?
That's one that I haven't really looked into a whole lot. Like I've heard about her sort of tangentially in classes a lot, where, for instance, we did a project where we had to reference a older artwork by someone that was famous, and someone else did one on Frida. But I personally, I haven't even seen. I keep on meaning to see the documentary about her, but I haven't yet. But that's one that I'd really like to look into more. I feel like it would probably inform what I do pretty well.
So did you have life drawing classes during high school, or were the life drawing classes outside of high school?
Yeah, they were outside of high school. They were actually at the museum I mentioned in the presentation, the Aurelia Museum of Art and History.
Yes.
So they had those, I think that was once a week or so, and you had to, you paid to get in and everything. And I started when I was 16, I think, along with my best friend at the time. And we had to get permission from our parents and everything to join in. But it was good.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This has been really interesting. I enjoyed listening to you talk about your art. And I hope you continue on.
Thank you.
You did a lot of preparation work for this night, and I really, on behalf of the group of artists, I really thank you for showing up all these different aspects of who you are and how you're doing this. It was a very educational exercise, and it gives us a lot of motivation, especially the point of dealing with your motivation and your interest in spite of the isolation, because this month has been a real catastrophe for all of us, emotionally, physically, everything, you know. And you have shown a very humane side of yourself in this, and that is very inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I really wanted to be honest in my presentation.
Oh. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah. It really depends on the piece, but a lot of the time it's around 100 hours, I would say. I don't really time it, but based on the number of days I work on it and the hours I work on it, I think it's about that. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. It's a lot of prioritizing it, and a lot of potentially dangerous subway rides. It's good to have, like a lot of the time it would be working around my schedule. If I had classes or volunteer things to do, just doing it in between those. I would often stay at York for pretty much the whole day, like around 12 hours a lot of the time, just to balance all of the different things and then come home at the end of it. It was more of a home was often more of a place to sleep. But I didn't mind that, you know? Like I liked having a space separate from my home to be doing my work in, and I really enjoyed what I was doing. So it was very rewarding, and I don't think I would rather live closer to York.
Alrighty.
I want to add my thanks as well to Deanna for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Deanna, you are making us very proud of the support that we have been able to provide in a very wonderful way, and it teaches us how a little bit of good options and goodwill can create so many beautiful things. Keep working on that, and it's wonderful.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Mhm.
So we don't really have an end, so unless somebody else has got something else to say.
Your work is wonderful and your presentation was great. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
I appreciate it. It's something I keep thinking maybe going back to university to finish my thing. But I went to OCAD back in the 80s. I did 2 years, and I keep thinking, well, maybe I'll go to York University and finish it. But I don't know. COVID has got a way of putting everything on hold. But then again, maybe you can do it online.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out in the winter what happens because I have a studio class left to finish.
Oh, you do.
We'll see.
So you have studio. I guess all the studio classes are shut down right now, are they?
I'm not sure. I only have a psychology course right now, so I don't know how that's working. But from last I heard, I think it's closed. Like it might be. I don't know. Janet probably knows better than I would.
No, it isn't closed. Tomorrow at 2:30, I teach contemporary approaches to nature, and it's got 25 students. And tomorrow I'm introducing their final project for the term through a PowerPoint. And every week I do 4 hours of Zoom classes with that one class. I divide them up into two groups, so it's 12 in one group and 13 in the next. And we do 2 hours of crits for each group each week. And then on Thursday morning, I teach the 4,000 level studio course, the one that Deanna was in last year. And we're starting to work on the second painting project. Each student in that class, it's a senior level class, so each student in that class has a theme they develop through 5 or 6 paintings throughout the year. Where you saw Deanna was working was in the studio class that it usually takes place in, but everybody is working at home this year, and I'm teaching through PowerPoint and Zoom. So the studios are going on, but I would say 95% of them are going on through Zoom.
Wow.
It's far more difficult to teach that way. I mean, I really, really miss that studio class. When I saw it, Deanna, I thought, wow, that was so wonderful.
We didn't know how good we had it.
I know.
I had, it is really different teaching through Zoom. It's very difficult because you're screen sharing all of the images constantly.
And how do you critique something when you're screen sharing?
Well, what happens is each student takes a photograph on their cell phone of the image of the piece they're working on, and so they have it up on their desktop of their computer, and I screen share with everybody, so it's open to everyone, the screen sharing. And so when you want to crit it, you bring it up in the share the same way as Deanna brought her PowerPoint up. Yeah. And, you know, everybody talks about it, and we figure out what's good about it, what isn't so good. And so that's how we do the crits.
Interesting.
Sculpture studios will be open next semester. That's cool.
Liz, are you taking any courses, studio courses that are online this term?
Yes, I'm doing coding and digital art.
Okay.
I have a question for Deanna.
Sure.
How did you ever become so cute and so smart at the same time?
Deanna, I love your dad. Sorry.
My question is, how is he getting the sound through when he's muted?
I mean, I don't know how to answer them, but thank you.
Those are trick questions. Just ignore them.
Okay. Do we have someone who is in charge of closing this session, like Diane or Marjorie or Glenda?
I can close everybody. Just say when.
Well,
Also, good night now. Thanks, Deanna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Deanna. It was very interesting. I enjoyed it very much. Good luck in the future, and continue on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great.
Okay. I hope everyone has a good night.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Kiddo,
I got you, friend.
Good night.
Good night. Good
we're
night.
proud of you.
Time for more tea.
Okay.